Bailiff, come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us. So what? Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can write is me. You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up. Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
And now, my dears,
Comes the climax of the evening. Come here. Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Henry, my great friend Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time? Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Stepan in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten? What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me. Oh, shit, I have to say Mass. I gotta say Mass. You have to help me. You can. You can do the sermon for me. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague, and you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look, from what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's going to have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping. I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh, how about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are. Hoc facite in meam commemorationem, accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin. Well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it. God does forgive a penitent. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled. Now slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much. Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime. Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow. That would explain something. Lubosh kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it. Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. Although it's a sin, and if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right? Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko. Pius, Timmy.
Find someone else to help you.
All what? All you making a complete hash of my sermon? You were supposed to help, not get me into even more trouble. Now I'll have the bishop on my back and all the villagers. Just leave. I need to pull myself together. Yeah, I noticed. And I wasn't the only one. Are you pulling my fucking pizzle? I couldn't have done worse myself if I'd puked on the alt.
My dear lad, I have more worries than I can bear. Another pair of shoulders would ease my burden. I have to deal with a local witch, the herb woman, old Gertrude, that devious hag who will stoop to anything, like all herbalists for that matter. This is no laughing matter. Gertrude isn't evil. She just has peculiar ideas about what's good for people. A little bird told me she incited some Ujet's women to witchery. You know how good people are at seeing the splinter in another's eye and not the beam in their own. As long as herb women stick to giving psychic to folk and bloated cows, assisting in childbirth, or burning incense in bedrooms to help with sleep, then nothing at all. But this is sacrilege, and it's unsafe. All sorts of molds and lichens and poisonous plants and other foul things go into those concoctions. I'd hate to see her poison some poor gullible lass. If you learn that she truly did involve folk in some foolishness, find out all you can and deal with it. I want you to go and see her and find out what she's been up to. I know she lives in fear of the Holy Church, so tell her I sent you. That will make her talk and think twice about encouraging witchcraft. Good. And never fear. I'm a man who always pays his debts. You'll find Gertrude, the old herb woman, in the woods. I'm the one who's sorry the souls of your brothers and sisters mean so little to you. If you change your mind, come back. Pray, do tell. For the love of heaven. I could, but I might not want to tell you. I do know, but I'm not sure I can tell you. Indeed I do. Why do you ask, Hal? People said they saw you talking with a vicar. They're afraid that Sir Hanush sent you here to help him. Jesus Christ, Hal, are you insane? To get involved with a man like that? And how is it? A revenant. Tell me more about it. In the scripture, it's written that the dead shall rise again only on the day of judgment. I suspect it may be something on the widow's own conscience that's haunting her. Do you know anything more about that? Have a memorial built there. Well, then we share the same interest. But I'd still prefer it to end with nobody burned at the stake. That's good to hear. So I would hope. But these inquisitors always find something. They hate to go back to their superiors empty-handed, eventually. But you can't even imagine the horror he can unleash. I don't know. But I'll do anything in my power to prevent a heretic witch hunt taking hold here. That's simple. Listen to how they say their prayers. Very well. Tell me, where did you find the cross? The cross is definitely the Bowers, I remember that. But that just can't be. I can't believe it. If they really are heretics, though, damn it. That really does seem like... Prayers are sacred to all Christians, heretic or devotee. But if they are heretics, they're bound to pray differently. I don't know. Crouch beneath the window? Climb up in the loft? That way you'll be sure to hear everything said in the main room. Certainly not. In the church, they'd pray the usual way. But at home, it's a different matter entirely. I know they meet at the farm in the evening with all the domestics. They'll surely be praying then. Don't you know how true Christians pray? When I think about it now, they're a little peculiar. But on the other hand, they give more alms to the needy in the village than anyone. I can't deny them that. Well, they do rather keep themselves to themselves. They attend Mass, true enough. They leave the moment it's over. And I've never seen them at a dance or a celebration of any kind. I don't really know. I've never spoken to them much, but they've not been here long, only 2 or 3 years. No. It belonged to the family who lived on the farm before them. That was quite a sad story. Are you sure? What did you hear? Do tell. That is certainly unusual, but nothing conclusive in itself. Oh, good Lord, that's all I need. What am I to do? Confess what exactly? Who wouldn't fear that? That swine finds fault with everyone. You're quite right. Yes, but they're still people, for God's sake. You know what he's going to do to them, and you'll just let that happen? You have to talk them out of it, Hal. You must convince them to run. So who better? Do you think they'll listen to me? I'm a priest. If there's anyone they can't abide, it's me. I'm sure you'll find a way. You have to try at least. For their own good and for yours, Hal. As you wish. But their life is now in your hands. So think about it. Nonsense. If you haven't told anyone else, then only the two of us know the truth. Well, you have to try to stop that from happening. I'm glad you see it that way. Now hurry. You never know when the vicar might come for them. News? Yes. All bad. He arrested them and took them away. And the executioner's getting his logs ready by now, I expect. It's all the same now, Henry. I've just learned of their arrest. There's not much we can do now. No one's going to stand in the vicar's way. But you wouldn't have been implicated. Losing good people is a great tragedy. I know. But still, if you hadn't become so involved, they're taking them to Kuttenberg now, where the pyre awaits them. Can they not? I don't know. They have their truth, and they cling to it. Tooth and nail, which is all too uncommon nowadays. I know. But still. In my experience, the trouble won't be a ghost, but the guilt she's holding inside herself. If the widow's too ashamed to tell you, have her come to me for confession. To atone for the death of her neighbor, she can have a cross erected along the road. A farmer, a jealous wife. I'd ask the widow if there's not more to it. How little you know people. Make the widow tell you everything, you'll see. And to make amends with the deceased as well as the Lord, tell her to erect an atonement cross. My. That would make a soul restless, all right. But I believe there must be something else that's keeping the widow from sleeping. You ask as if you've fallen from the stars. I shall pray for the poor woman, and I'll be grateful in turn for any donation she may decide to make to the church. It seems Sir Hanush is employing children as investigators. But ask as you wish, boy. I hope this nasty business will be cleared up quickly. There are things that apply always, no matter what the circumstances, and this is one of them. With a stick. I practiced with a stick. A reminder of my youth and days gone by, and it helps keep me in good form. Suppose we talk it over in the evening, in the tavern, over a cup of good wine. Maybe we'll come up with something. I wouldn't. But I can't betray the sanctity of the confessional. I'll tell you what. Give me some time and I'll try to think up some way of helping you. Let's leave it for the evening. Come to the tavern after sunset and we'll talk it over. What do you want to know? A bit of a lost soul. Simple, rough fellow, but at heart I don't think he was such a bad person. My child, all sorts of suspicious things have been going on recently. People like Lubosh don't know what to do about it, and sometimes they do stupid things. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm bound by certain vows that forbid me to tell you. There are laws of God above the laws of man, son, and one of those is the sanctity of the confessional. Unfortunately, I do know, and I'd like to help you with your investigation, but I can't. Especially if nobody finds out about it. All right. I agree. I'll probably serve God better by saving a few innocent lambs than by keeping quiet. If people believed the sanctity of the confessional couldn't be trusted, the consequences would be even worse than that. No one escapes punishment. If I told you, I would be betraying a vow that's a cornerstone of the Holy Church. True. Very well, then. Can I trust you not to say a word to anyone? I can. Because if I broke that vow, the consequences would be much worse than if I didn't. Maybe not immediately, but one day. The mills of God grind slowly. I'm no stranger to conflict. But I admit, I wouldn't like to go up against you. Still, at least promise me it will remain between the two of us. Oh, well. I suppose you're right. By the looks of you, that isn't an empty threat. You're threatening me. You want to fight me? Well, I never. Well, why not? Let's have at it. I understand how keen you are. I'd truly like to help, but that really isn't the way. Let's start again and try another approach, eh? Come on then, son. Show me what you're made of. You can hammer me to death if you like, but the sanctity of the confession is unbreakable. I do want to help you, though. So come to the tavern in the evening, and maybe we'll come up with something. Either way, if you think you'll get confessional secrets out of me with your fists, you're badly mistaken, boy. Well, I have to admit you're good, or I'm getting too old for this. I understand how you feel, but that won't work on me, my son. If you're ready to try a different approach, come to the tavern in the evening. We'll drink some wine and maybe think something up. Next time you threaten someone, you'd better make sure the threats aren't empty. But first I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I have the honor? Where are you from? I'm sorry I can't tell you everything. But maybe we can work something out. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch, Bernard. Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Neuhof? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things. But I take most of it with a pinch of salt. If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse than even the most hideous crime. Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, you'll forever be tempted to do it again. It has to be something topical, condemning vices, and of course describing them in detail. Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and the people liked it. Well, Ujits isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the Bible, I'd soon be preaching to an empty church. What of it? Have you never met a cleric who lives with a woman before? I heard he was a bit odd. Oh, I'm sorry. What about your kin? It must have been terrible. Sorry to have asked, then. I was simply curious. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Here, we'll drink to them. I understand. It must have been terrible. To the memory of all who were left behind. My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. I understand. I'm sorry. Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. We'll have to drink to that. I do, to tell the truth. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and so terribly. I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Dreadful. You could put it that way, but I don't think you're being entirely fair, my son. These days, of course, it's just a bit of exercise to keep me in shape. Let's just say I haven't always been a priest. Fate led me to places where affairs were settled by force. Well, lad, I think we'd better leave it for another occasion. You're apparently not in good humor, and I must admit, neither am I. I feel the lure of my bed. You know what they say. The Lord moves in mysterious ways. I like to leave the past in the past. Now I'm here, and the life I have suits me just fine. Wine, women, and mass. Mother Church won't let me take her to wife. Too afraid it might lose its property to any heirs she bore me. But she cooks and cleans. And, well, as a man I have my needs. If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But, first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you. On my soul. Chin up, lad. I might have a solution. I'm sorry you see it that way. Really sorry. You've no idea how wrong you are. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire. With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their whores in expensive furs. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolution. Let's drink to that. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too. A tongue lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life, with a nice moral to them, are popular as well. While Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no place to lay his head. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to devour every grain of gold and silver. The preaching of Master Jan Hus about Mother Church. They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing for wealth, and they shamelessly profit from everything. The lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned to poison, and nearly the whole of Christendom is contaminated. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? Oh, the congregation will love it. Amen. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse those stuffed habits in Sasau Monastery. What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach to. No, I don't. If he got out of Prague and came here for a look, I'm sure he'd stop condemning drinking and lying with women. He's certainly a wise man. A little overzealous for my taste. You like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at my presbytery. In a few years, it'll have grown beyond control. You mark my words, the people will rise up and the church will be shaken to its very foundations. Nonsense. They can't burn a master of the most respected university in Europe. They like it. They're happy to hear someone say what they think themselves, but are afraid to say aloud. Things that make them angry. And they're calling for change. What do you suppose? We have a drink, of course. You're welcome. No, I won't. I'm a little weary, I'm afraid. I believe it's time for me to take my bed. I'm sorry we couldn't find common ground. Good night, son. Come on then, bailiff. You wanted to fight, so come and get it. Don't worry, I won't give you any trouble. We'll just have a bit of a punch-up. They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? So, my dears, wouldn't you like to have a little ring on the bell? No sooner said than done. Watch the step, my dears. Careful, you don't hurt yourself. What are you waiting for, Henry? Come on! Or are you not interested? Meh, meh, meh. Don't mock me. I won't give you a second chance. Not if you make a hash of it. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what I know about Lubos. No, neither can I. I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tavern, and that's that. Wonderful. Let's get to it then. As you like. Don't help me, and I won't help you. I thought we were going to be friends, but now I see I was mistaken. Now clear off. I have work to do, as you know. Come on, we have to go quickly. We're already late. Just don't forget what I told you. I do the liturgy. Introduce you and you repeat what I told you yesterday about Hus. It's as easy as that. Now let's go. I knew you wouldn't let me down. I thought you'd be more game. How could you have left them? You had a Christian duty. Be quiet, Henry. Just get out of my sight. I'm sure they'll be back again. Follow them the next time and find out what they get up to in those woods. At least you see where dancing with the devil can take you. Pray for their loved ones and for your soul and mine, because we share the blame. And now please, go. Leave me alone to pray. Good God! And what happened? Such a tragedy. Oh Lord, please be merciful and receive their souls. But why did you not step in? Oh, sweet Jesus. Saints above. St. Michael, St. Anthony. There must have been another way. For Christ's sake. How could you? Such needless slaughter. Those men meant well. Was there no other way to stop the bloodshed? I can hardly fault you. It's my fault, too, for letting things slide so far. I should have taken care of the herb woman and those poor women myself. The good Lord observes your deeds. Forgiveness must come from the Lord. I can't be the judge. Please, pray for the souls of those poor women and those who took their lives. Pray for the souls of those unfortunate Christians. Pray, because you have blood on your hands. An atonement cross. You often see them along roads, reminders of reconciliation and forgiven trespasses. Suggest it to the widow and see how she reacts. What do you want from me? You left me high and dry, and now you won't leave me alone. You again? Come to rub salt in my wounds, have you? I've nothing to say to you. You'll get what you deserve. Just you wait. The righteous will rise even though they fall 7 times. I will. I wish my head would stop spinning. You, Judas, you betrayed me rather than help save their souls. They'll end in hell because of you. My God, why dost thou punish me? Apart from the fornication and gluttony. Usually you don't mind that. Get out of here before I throw up on you. Leave me alone. He and his gang didn't want any part of that. So they quarreled with the others and ran off. No. He said some crony of theirs hired them. First they thought they were going to steal horses. But then it all got out of hand and people started dying. Lubos came to me shortly after everything that happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. I must say I never expected it of him, but he turned out to be a better man than he seemed. And just nicknames, but maybe that'll help. He mentioned some fellows called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, and Timmy. Well, that would explain something. Lubos kept blabbering on that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it. And with you, lad, take a seat. They came to me themselves, proud of what they'd done. What am I to do? Hand them over to the bailiff for doing what they thought was right? But if you'd stayed there, none of that need have happened. Come on, then. What's the holdup? We've no time to waste. Come on, Henry. Don't tell me you changed your mind. What's the matter with you? We have to start Mass. It's already late. All right, then. Suit yourself, but don't expect any help from me. My thoughts exactly. But the question still remains what to do about it. The vicar won't give up till he's found what he wants. You know what, boy? Before we do anything else, we ought to make sure whether there really are heretics here. Heretics or not, you don't know what you're talking about. I've seen this sort of thing. But very well, if you say so. Still, I'm sure you won't mind if we first find out how things stand. You're quite right. You're lucky you weren't dragged down with them. If the vicar had found out you warned them, well, it doesn't bear thinking about. Now, there's no need for that, Hal. You simply need to learn your lesson and not get drawn into such filthy dealings again. No, I try to see the good in people. I know. But they were also decent people. What would you like, ale or wine? How kind of you not to come and disturb my solitude. Well, the feeling is mutual as it happens. I've nothing to say to you anyway. Tell me all about it this evening, then. You've got that right. I wouldn't. Thou shalt not hurt thy neighbor, fucker. You think because I'm a man of the cloth I won't kick your arse? Bastard. You'll get your penance now. It's a sin to fight so badly. You want to kill me? You won't find out anything that way. Put away that weapon, son. And come and settle it man to man, hand to hand. Oh, my God, what else? While they were weaving their magic, the woodcutters burst in on them. They thought they had to stop the devil being summoned, and so they beat those women to death. Well, I'll tell you what happened after that. Unlike you, I find the fate of my fellow souls important. It's all the same now, Henry. I got word from the presbytery that the vicar's getting ready to catch them. But I'm curious, how come you got so devout all of a sudden? Has something happened? And I gladly accept your offering, my son. I'll pray for your forgiveness. Really, son? Something's troubling you. I have a nose for these things. God be with you. Well, if that's how it is, that's a virtue that's often sadly lacking. Everyone sins, my son, but to repent and try to make amends. May God go with you, my son. Johanka? Each of the masters tried to speak longer than the others so as not to appear less learned. Not to worry, lad. I had to listen to a lot of long stories at the university in Prague. I can handle it, believe me. Good Lord. What does she show her? Tell me. Haven't they everywhere? These are dark times. What? Are you serious? What? Are you serious? Damn. That sounds very, I don't know, Henry. You wouldn't be making it up by any chance. And now you do? And what do the people think of all this? I see. Well, that is really extraordinary. Some might even agree. That's interesting. Very interesting indeed. The masters of Prague ought to hear this. And what about you, Henry? What do you think of it? Thank you for telling me, lad. It's hard to say. Maybe I should go to Sasau and see for myself. One thing is certain, though. There are interesting times ahead. That you can be sure of. That's in God's hands, son. Wait a moment. You came here the whole way from Sasau on foot? You noticed, eh? Yes, I know about that. It's just that there hasn't been the means to get it fixed, see? It just occurred to me, this affair with Johanka reminds me of a manuscript I made a copy of once. You might find it interesting. If you want, you can come with me and I'll find it for you. Or stop by the presbytery later. Ah, then may God watch over you and lighten your load. God be with you, lad. Take care. That's good. The Blessed Virgin always looks down kindly on those whose penance is humble and sincere. Ah, excellent. Look, I found it. Copied excerpts from the work of Magister Parisiensis. Matthew of Janov, the master of Paris as he was known. Did I tell you about Jan Hus? He studied there. He was a university master. He traveled a lot and was very learned. I've got a copy here. I'll lend it to you if you promise to bring it back. I can't say, but it came to mind when you were talking about Johanka, because Matthew wrote about similar things, about women who had visions and the like. You do know how to read, don't you? Hus wasn't alone, see? There are other masters who have similar ideas, just that Hus knows how to talk about it better than anyone. Anyway, as I was saying, but this Matthew, he was one of those who thought much the same as Hus. Ha ha, right, me neither. Anyway, this Matthew, he was one of those who said similar things to what Hus is saying now. I'll tell you about it sometime. Oh, I must be confusing you with someone else. Here you are then. I'm sure it's in good hands. By Christ, lad, you're a regular scholar. You know what? Take it. There's a scribe here in Ujits who'll help you with it for a few groschen. Oh, that's a shame. You can bring it back to me when you're passing again. You're welcome, lad. Now run along and don't keep Johanka waiting. And how did that go? Damn, that's quite a story. An inquisitor here? This Johanka, she's in some serious trouble. Then hopefully she'll find peace there. The poor girl went through enough. I'll pray for her. The poor child. To fall by the wayside and succumb to deception. I'll pray for her soul. Thanks, my son. Ah, the opus of Matthew of Janov. I was wondering if I'd ever see it again. Where could I have put it? I knew it was a mistake to put it in a safe place. Ah, here it is. As you wish, Henry. I'm always happy to see you. Never mind, Henry. It's only money after all. You don't have to go heedlessly chasing after it for the sake of the church. Just bring it when you have it. It's a pity I can't find it just now, but if you're interested, come to the Presbytery and I'll have a look for it. Hang on, Henry. I'll find it. Give me a moment, Henry, while I look for that book for you. It won't take a moment. Shit. That sounds like a really fucked up situation. Of course. It's not the kind of thing that happens every day. I'd be of no use to you at all. What could I possibly say? I only know what you told me. I've never even laid eyes on this Johanka. Tackling the papal inquisitor? Best advice is don't do it. But let's see. I gave you those writings from Matthew of Janov, didn't I? He was a great scholar. Maybe something in that would convince the inquisitor. Jesus, lad. This is some serious mess you've gotten yourself mixed up in. The Inquisitor will interrogate Johanka too. Try and get to her, and tell her to do whatever the Inquisitor asked of her. Even to recant what she said. That ought to help. Come back when I have time. Sorry, can't you see I can't deal with that now?